Hey guys, it's Ian here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing another comic book review. Today we're going to be looking at the insanely successful, kind of like surprisingly so, relaunch of the Thundercats by Declan Shalvey and Drew Moss, with two colorists. I can't remember their names, I didn't write it down, so I apologize, but shout out to the colorist on this as well, and shout out to the guy that's doing these covers. I think he's going to be doing the main covers for at least the next 3 issues, or 3 issues including this one, and I quite like that because I really like his style. He also does the Catwoman covers, and those are awesome. I don't pick up that series, but there's this Catwoman cover that's going to come out soon, I think, that is like... It feels like Barbarella. It has like that callback to Barbarella, you know, like a funky space pose in a spacesuit, and it looks really good. I really like this artist, although his face there on Snarf is a bit rough. That's a little bit. Honestly, it fucked me up the first time I saw it. I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. It looks like like you know, Patton Oswalt or something. Just like there on Snarf's face. It's kind of funny. I don't know. It's kind of odd, but everything else perfect. I love it. I really enjoy it. I think it looks great. And I grew up loving Thundercats. I think I mentioned this in my check-in video, but I'm kind of not in the right age range to like Thundercats. I'm 24. Most people that like Thundercats are, you know, 35 or more or older. But I liked it because I used to go to Mexico when I was a child to visit family, because I'm originally from Mexico, and because we didn't really spend that much time in our house in Mexico, we didn't have cable or anything, right? So we only had to watch we only had the opportunity to watch television through the nationally broadcasted channels, and one of those channels had a morning cartoon segment, and one of the prominent shows that they had on that segment was Thundercats. So I grew up watching it. Very fond memories of sitting in my parents' bedroom in our little house in Mexico in the morning after breakfast and watching Thundercats, followed by One Piece. And then I don't really remember what came after that, but I remember kind of like tuning out after the 2 episodes of Thundercats. And when it started to go into One Piece, at that time I was not interested. It didn't really work for me. But Thundercats was so cool. And I've been asking for a comic book or something, some revival of it on Twitter for quite a few years now. And we finally got it. So, yeah. Let's talk about it. So, their work isn't my favorite. I don't, like, love it. But I think it's serviceable. I like the colors. And I think that mostly it works really nicely. Like it fits. It's just not my preference. I would have liked something a little bit more dynamic, or maybe a little bit more old school, maybe. I'm not really sure how to word it, but like maybe not necessarily like Rob De La Torre, but kind of like Rob De La Torre, like something a little bit more in that kind of vein. Although I guess it doesn't really fit with this like sheer like perfect design of the Thundercats, but something in that style would have worked better for me. But Drew Moss does a great job, so you know, respect to him. But it's not necessarily my favorite art style, right? But you know, I'm kind of picky about stuff like that, so it's, you know, take that with a grain of salt. So moving on to the actual story, it opens up with a cool page of exposition. It shows you, you know, who Lion-O is. It tells you about the fall of Thundera or Thundera, and Jaga, and the fact that he is now, that Lion-O is now a man, even though he still has the mind and heart of a boy, and the leader of the Thundercats, right? And then this is actually done phenomenally. I really love how you manage to condense, like, or how Declan Shalvey manages to condense the crux of the Thundercats and their history and their journey and their all of the lore that it implies in, you know, so little, right? I've been seeing some interviews. Apparently, this was a choice that either his editor or someone that he was working with to get help on this told them to do, because he wanted to take 5 pages to do it. And I want to commend 2 things about it. One, the fact that, you know, he got advice and he took it, and 2, that he executed that advice phenomenally. I think he did an amazing job with it. So overall, great introduction, very easy. If you are scanning this, you know, at a comic book store, and you read that first bit and you're interested, it's gonna work. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna want to pick it up, right? So it worked out really, really nicely. I like that. And then we get this kind of like another version of this, slightly, not exactly, that has Slythe, the, you know, like the lizard frog guy, finding them and heading down to Third Earth, right? So he's in space. He's like, oh, this is where they landed. Let me go down there and, you know, fuck with them, right? Because the mutants are just crazy. And I think that's a change. I think they were just called mutants in the original. Declan Shelby decided to change the vibe a little bit, call them mutants, M-U''tant, in order to kind of change up the dynamic a little bit, make them a little bit more sci-fi-esque. And I think it works. I like that. Then we transition back to Lionel, who's doing kind of, you know, Luke Skywalker training. He has a helmet over his face. He can't see. He's got a sword, and there's these little robots around him shooting lasers at him, and he's trying to block them and get rid of the little robots without using his sight. And Panthro is in charge of this training. And well, the thing is that Lionel, with the impatience of a child that he has, is quite upset at the fact that, you know, he is a grown man. He is completely, you know, physically on par with Panthro and Tigra, and he is still being forced to do these childish trainings, right? And he's upset because Panthro won't let him grab the Sword of Omens until he does this correctly. And so he tries to be uppity about it. He tries to show off, and Panthro steps in and you know, knocks him down a little bit to kind of help help us, the reader, specifically know that Lionel is not really ready for this responsibility, right? But Lionel doesn't care. He storms off. He grabs the Sword of Omens because he apparently can just do that. I think Panthro didn't think that through, and he goes off. He kind of goes off into the wilderness just to, you know, be a, you know, angsty teenager, which he kind of is, right? He's the same physical age or mental age as Wily and Willy Cat, right? So I like that. I think that's pretty good. I really enjoyed how this system worked. So yeah, I think it was a phenomenal bit of storytelling here. Then we get to move on to a different scene where we see Tigra and Chitara and the Wily kids out hunting and having fun. Tigra is hunting, but also trying to study these little like rabbit things. And then when he tries to, you know, pounce on it, Chitara shows up and steals his thunder and messes him up, and so neither of them get it. And then the Wily kids come up and they're like, no, it's ours, and then they start fighting, and we get to really have a great bit of characterization for everyone. And I'm not exactly sure that it's exactly the same as the originals. I don't really remember, you know, aspects of them, like physical aspects or like, you know, character aspects. Besides Lionel being, you know, cool as fuck. Because it's been many, many years since I watched any of those episodes. And I mostly just like subsist on the memories of my childhood, right? Like, I don't remember words or feelings necessarily beyond the feeling of awe and the images of the show, right? And so I'm not really sure what the characterization is like. I don't know if it's different from what it was originally, but to me it works out really well. You get to see that Tigra is inquisitive and interested in curiosity, and he's a scientist. We get to see that Chitara is fun and playful, which is a great kind of character trait to have in a group of very serious, you know, characters. We get to see that Panthro is very stiff and very like grisly type of you know, warrior character. Lionel is impulsive, but there's a reason for that. And the Wily kids are, of course, childish teenagers, right? Young teenagers, and they're really fun. I like all of the interactions the characters have had so far. I really enjoy all of the demonstration of character here. So I really, really like this. I think it's wonderful. It's phenomenal. And while the Wily kids are having fun with Tigra and Chitara, Lionel's off by himself. And that's when he's found by the mutants. And so he tries to use, well, he does use the sword to call the Thundercats. You know, he does the Thundercats whole thing. It was awesome. It looked great. It was wonderful. And he calls the Thundercats to him. They all go quickly. They deploy. And as this is happening, very far away in this deep, you know, Star Wars-esque, like, pit of doom in the middle of nowhere kind of place, Moonra awakes, right? He senses the power of the Eye of Thundera, the thing in the center of the Sword of Omens, and he hungers for that power. He's interested in getting it, right? And we move back to Lionel, who's actually fighting Slythe right now, and the Thundercats show up to save his butt because he's losing, because he's still a child and he doesn't have the instinctive, or maybe even more correctly, the long years of training that, you know, Tigra and Panthro would have at the same age as him, and so or at the same age physically as him, and so he is losing to Slythe, and the Thundercats save his butt, and one of the Wily kids manages to break Slythe's ship, and so this forces the mutants to also be stranded on Third Earth, which sets up the basic idea of, like, these two factions are going to be at war for, like, essentially ever, right? So it works. And then Slythe, in retaliation, although more like he's just because he's fighting Lionel, he manages to break the Sword of Omens, which is something that should not be possible, right? Like, the idea is that the sword is, like, a mystical item that should not be weak like this. And Slythe manages to break it, and this is horrifying to everyone involved. And Moonra is mad, apparently, because something is wrong. This means that there's a change to the sword and to the Eye of Thundera and to the Sword of Omens, and he calls out angrily to Jaga. He's like, dude, what have you done? And then we get to see Jaga's Force Ghost kind of character, and it looks pretty good. I'm not really sure if that's supposed to be artistic representation of the fact that he is thinking of Jaga, or if it's, like, literally Jaga as a Force Ghost showed up to like torment Moonra in this moment. I'm not really sure, but it works out really, really great. It's a great start. This actually was like a flyby. Like, I felt like this book, even though it has, you know, 24 pages or whatever, went by so fast. Like, I started reading it, and then immediately afterwards I closed it because I was done, and it felt so short, but there was so much packed into it. I really enjoyed this. I think it was great. If you have not gotten your copy, I recommend you get yourself one. There's a second printing already out, and there may be a third printing later on if enough people buy it, right? And I definitely recommend you should. It's really great. It's space fantasy like Star Wars, but it has that kind of like Masters of the Universe / Conan type vibe. And it's fun, it's interesting, it has really cool, bright colors, the designs are immaculate, like, everything about this book is phenomenal. The IP is definitely going to evolve and grow from this interpretation, from this new direction that Declan Shelby is taking us in, and the great thing is that it's not necessarily super different either. Like, it is still ultimately just Thundercats, but there's a little bit of a difference there, right? And there are going to be some changes. I think it's already been announced that the second issue is going to introduce a new character. I think her name is Calica, as in like Calico Cat, which fits right in. That's cool. And I don't know too much else, but I know that Declan Shelby, according to all the interviews that I've seen of him, hasn't really watched the 2011 version, and that one was very like high fantasy / high like science fiction type vibes. And so this isn't really going to be that. It's going to be a little bit less than that, but a little bit different from the original. So I think that there is going to be a very nice, like, broad appeal to this that should, and I hope does work for the vast majority of Thundercats fans, right? So those are my thoughts on this book. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did. Let me know what you thought about the issue down below. And if you have any problems or you know, comments about my video covering it, please let me know down below. Thank you guys very much, and see you guys later.